All right, let's turn now to our big story. It is quite hot outside today, around 90 degrees in the Portland area, but it's nothing compared to the extreme heat happening in Europe right now, similar to what we faced in the Pacific Northwest last summer. Portland has launched a program to install heat pumps in low-income households. As of today, they have installed 515 units, which is a lot better than a month ago, and they only had about a dozen installed. But they still have a long way to go to get to the goal of 3,000 units by the end of summer. We will keep checking on the program's progress and update you on those installation numbers. Well, in the meantime, President Biden just announced a new series of initiatives to respond to the climate crisis. One of those provides billions of dollars in funding for communities facing extreme heat. Another will help low-income Americans get access to air conditioners and cooling centers.
And this crisis impacts every aspect of our everyday life. That's why today I'm making the largest investment ever, $2.3 billion, to help communities across the country build infrastructure that's designed to withstand the full range of disasters we've been seeing up to today. Extreme heat, drought, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes. Right now, there are millions of people suffering from extreme heat at home. So my team is also working with the state to deploy $385 million right now.
Well, this isn't just a problem in America. Right now, Europe is suffering from an intense heat wave. This week, a town in England reached 104 degrees. That's the highest ever recorded in the country. The UK is similar to the Pacific Northwest in that we're not used to extreme heat, and we're not prepared for it either. Erica Zucco from our sister station in Seattle talked to a climate scientist about that.
Their tabloids will tell you Britain is melting. Hyperbole, sure, but flights grounded on a tarmac and canceled train routes tell the truth of it. Much of Europe isn't prepared for more of this, and in some ways, neither are we.
The UK is in many ways like west of the Cascades in the Pacific Northwest here. Not many residences at all have air conditioning.
State climatologist at UW Nick Bond says the heat wave abroad is breaking records, just like last year's high temps did in Washington. That led to skyrocketing AC sales and heat-related illness. Research by UW and partner scientists shows these events could become more intense as the world warms.
The events themselves aren't necessarily going to be more frequent, but it's when they come along, when the weather pattern just is in the kind of right configuration, then they'll be that much more severe.
Abroad, there are reports of painting rails white and wrapping a bridge in foil to reduce or reflect heat. There are also local efforts to plan ahead. The Seattle City Council voted to incorporate responses to climate change into its next major comprehensive plan. It'll likely include measures like improving public transit to cut emissions and providing resources for those hit hardest by heat.
We should not stick our heads in the sand, but we can do something about this, and especially to do what we can to help the most vulnerable parts of the population.
That includes agriculture and construction workers trying to beat the heat across the nation.
Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. And Matt, is the weather system that's causing the heat wave in Europe similar to the heat dome we had last summer?
It's quite similar, as a matter of fact. I think the one that we had last year was more intense, and its location was perfect for the Northwest to get our all-time record hot weather. Remember, Portland hit 116. Up in Lytton, BC, they hit 121, which is a new national record for Canada. And then the town burnt down because of a wildfire. So that was really off the charts. And Dr. Bond is exactly right. When we get these patterns, they're just more intense because the climate is hotter. The Earth's atmosphere is hotter, so our starting point is higher, and it's allowing these heat waves to become more intense. Now, let's take a look at Europe right now, and they had a very similar pattern. I'm going to point out a couple things on the map here. First of all, it's cooled off. London's hit 79 today for a high. Dublin, a nice cool 66. But the heat has just pushed east a little bit. Berlin, 100. 95 in Budapest. 100 in Madrid, not unusual. It gets hot down there being farther south. But I want to talk about that because what a lot of people don't realize about Northern Europe is it's shifted much farther north than North America. See this latitude line right here? That's the 50th parallel, which is north of Vancouver, BC. So to put it another way, Berlin is almost as far north as Edmonton, Canada. Okay, so it's very unusual to get hot weather like this that far north, especially when you're near an ocean. And that's what Dr. Bond meant about us being similar, or Northern Europe being similar to our weather. They're on the west side of the continent, so they typically get the cooling influence from off the ocean like that. So yes, similar, not exactly the same, but similar, and similar in the fact that we likely are seeing an impact of climate change making the weather hotter. Now, we've had hot weather down in the southern plains and in the southwest pretty much all summer, but it's migrating our way. We're going to be in the 90s Monday through Friday. We may cool off next Friday. I'm talking about next week, okay, because we've got another heat wave coming our way. I think triple digits are likely for at least a couple of days, and this is shaping up to be our hottest and longest heat wave of the year, actually. So still some uncertainty as to exactly which days will be the hottest, how hot we're going to get, but it's looking quite certain that we will have a heat wave next week. I don't expect it to be epic like the heat wave last year. Remember, we went 108, 112, then 116. We're not going to do that, but it is going to get hot.